Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Today we have Dr. Vaishnavi Sridhar with us as our Researcher Celebrity. A brief introduction of Vaishnavi. Vaishnavi has done her BS MS from ISER Mohali with a major in biology, and then she went to Canada in University of British Columbia to pursue her PhD in cell and developmental biology. Currently, Vaishnavi is a manager for academic collaboration and events at National Center for Biological Sciences, Bangalore. With this brief introduction, we'll welcome Vaishnavi to the platform and say thank you, Vaishnavi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity, Dr.
So,
Pushpa.
thank you. So, we always start our this conversation that how and when you decided that you want to become a researcher.
Right. I think, as with many other people, it is something that stemmed from my childhood. So essentially, when I was a child, we would go out for a lot of nature walks and go out into the nature and connect with nature. So interest in nature or biology in that sense of it began from that point in time. And when the subjects get divided into chemistry, biology, physics, by I think it was almost 10th, 9th, 10th grade, I had nailed down on chemistry and biology because I was like, I enjoy these. And at that point of time, if you realize from what I said, I was more about, the natural world. Oh, I'll do ecology. I'll go out into the world and discover some organism, those kind of things. But by the time I came to 11th, 12th, I took this CBSE, I think still offers this subject. It was called biotechnology. We had it in 11th and 12th in our school. So to be honest, I don't think I mentioned this many times. I took biotechnology because I didn't like the person who was teaching biology. They made it a bit boring. I'm going to say this honestly. It's okay. It's been a long time now. No offense to them, but that's how. And biotechnology, I just loved the subject, how it was. And because it taught you more about, the things which you study in bachelor's now, maybe things like DNA or those kind of things. That's the first time molecules, the molecular world, I was introduced to it during that time. So I realized, oh, I enjoy studying biology, but more looking at what is happening inside the intricacies. So after 12th, the initial interest was to do a BTech biotech because BSMS, as you mentioned at that point, I didn't even know that was an option, because it's what your teachers tell you. And they're like, BTech biotech you can do. That's what the teacher had done, and many people also. So you do a BTech in biotechnology, and then you do a master's and then PhD. That's what was taught to us. So I thought, okay, biotechnology I like. Research is my end goal, so I have to do a PhD. So by the time I was 17 itself, no pressure on anybody. Anybody can decide at whatever time. At that point, I was clear I want to do research. So I was applying for BTech biotech, and then a chance conversation with one of my father's friends. So she said that BTech biotech is good for you, but it's too specialized. Why don't you start with something basic? So she's the one who told me, introduced me to this BSMS, and major credits goes to my parents. My mother would religiously look at this Education Times. I don't know how many people read newspapers nowadays, but at that time, religiously, my mother would mark and cut out where I could apply. So this BSMS opportunity also she had found. So she said, why don't you apply? You're applying to so many places. Why don't you apply? Let us see how it turns out. And then, one led to the other, and BTech biotech was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. BSMS, I got selected to ISER Mohali. It was a pure science research institute. And through the course of the different like the courses, I majored in biology. So first 2 years you have physics, chemistry, biology, math. Now there are many minors also, like science communication, those kind of things. At that time that wasn't there. Biology, I want to do a biology majors, and all the courses, they shaped what I was thinking. So I was nailing down narrowly the ecology, which I liked. At some point I realized, yeah, field work is not my thing. I can't do this, and the topic didn't interest me a lot. Just to read is fine, not to specialize. Biochemistry, cell biology, they started interesting me because of the courses that were being taught, and primarily credit goes to who was teaching it and the course, the topics in itself. So also in ISER, it used to be a mandatory for you to do an internship in every summer to do a sorry about that. So every summer for your research, you are supposed to be doing this. And the primary motivation was to, of course, you learn about the research itself and how this landscape operates, right? So that's what I was interested. So every summer I did different biology research And it just moved me more and more and more into the cell biology topic in itself. So that is mainly what, and I by the time I ended, and finally we have a master's project, and all our courses were very nicely designed. The practicals, it give you a lot of hands-on. So I think in biology, especially, of course, there's theoretical biology, there's different aspects, but if you're interested in the practical part, you should really try to get the hands-on experience however you can through internships. There are different programs which is there. Even though at the end of my master's, I knew I wanted to do research, I was very clear. I think this might be your next question, but I'm just going to put this out there anyway. I was clear I didn't want to open my own lab. But still, the path was PhD I have to do. But after that, postdoc. I was like, postdoc, but what will I do after that? I didn't know, but that was what had chartered me to it. So essentially, I'll stop here. That is, I think, the answer to your question. So
Yes.
maybe you ask me later question, I'll add to it.
Great. Thank you so much. So
Yeah,
from
yeah,
childhood, at the age
yeah,
of 17, you decided that you want to do a PhD. So
yeah,
let's take the steps from internship and master's project. And before
yeah,
that, I'll say this. This is my request to all the teachers that you play a very crucial role for motivating your students. So try to be more passionate and energetic about whenever you are in the class and enjoy your work because, as Vaishnavi said, it can impact both ways. Some students might just give up on a subject because they don't like the way the teacher is studying. And in most of the cases, the teachers are also the reason that why a student is pursuing a certain subject or they get motivated towards research. So this is all the for the teachers. Now coming back to Vaishnavi, how important was this to get some hands-on training with internships, with your master project? So, what you can tell all of our viewers who are considering to enter into research?
yeah. So before I answer this, sorry, just to add to your part of the teachers, I would just say that I think teacher training is also very important, which I think new institutes nowadays are doing. Research institutes are training teachers. I just feel it's very important because, not everybody is a born teacher. It comes through training. So anyway, that was just to that point. And I think that's a lesson for our viewers also because many of them, after their research, they may land up teaching courses to students and those kind of things. So anyway, so coming back to your question, um, I would personally say the internship and not just the internship, but the practical courses. So we had heavy weightage on practical courses during our training itself. Basic molecular, I'll just tell the biology ones because that's my expertise. Like basic molecular biology tools or developmental biology, in which you would observe the different stages of development of different organisms or just dissect them to see the different parts. I would say that this is very important because it helps you appreciate the world around you. There's a difference between saying, oh, this is a frog, or and these are the organs it has this the yeah, but if you get out into, if you actually see a frog, that's how you get your that's how you observe, like either seeing, of course, using your different sensations basically. I didn't ever dissect a frog, just to mention that. I will faint if I have to do that. But yeah, I'm just saying. That's another thing. Many people think biologists can do these things. I've heard from so many people who would say, can't you work with mice? I said the maximum I can work with is Drosophila, which is your fruit fly. I can't work beyond that. I can't. So anyway, so the different internships, my idea was to explore. So that also, we had, I think I would say, very good mentors. I was lucky in that way, not just teachers, but also seniors in the program who mentioned that try, either you explore every summer project, you explore different topics to finally nail down what you want to work on. Either try different techniques or different, in biology, what we call model organisms. So different, you can't work directly with human beings, right? So you have these different organisms you work with. So they said you can try that. Or there were some people who clearly I saw in my own peer group who chose a specific topic, and every summer project they worked to add on to their skills in just that specific topic. So by the end of their masters, actually, they had publications also. So that is another, and I think nowadays having a publication, I don't know, fortunately, unfortunately, whatever, I leave it open ended, has become an important thing. So it's up to you. I luckily had the opportunity to explore. So every summer I tried to explore, and the first was, again, like you said, the teacher. So the first one, I was just very influenced by this researcher, Dr. Professor Lolitika Mandal, who is a great developmental biologist, works with Drosophila, how their blood, the hematopoietic system, how it develops. So I worked with her in the first, so that was Drosophila. So that you just see the, I'm just going to lay it out so you see what all I worked with. Bacteria is routine, so we all work with bacteria, Drosophila. And then I went to her, I said, ma'am, I want to do an internship, something related in, uh, something related in developmental biology, because she used to work in developmental biology. So I was like, developmental biology, I want to do. And then she recommended applying for this, it's called Indian Academy of Sciences Summer Research Fellowship. So they give you, at that time, it used to be 8,000 per month. You apply for it, and then you get matched to a lab in India. So I was matched to a lab in Center for DNA Fingerprinting and Diagnostics, Hyderabad, CDFD. Um, it's a funny story. I was matched to one lab, but when the final letter came, it was to another lab. So at that time, since I'd worked with Drosophila, I was like, I have to work with Drosophila. But this was a eye-opening experience. I worked with, it was primarily working with E. coli cells, um, like a biochemistry lab. This was Dr. Professor Rashna Bhandari, who's on the India Bioscience panel now. She's an advisor. So it was a great experience because she taught me different things. I got an opportunity to not just go to another lab, but work with great PhD students, JRF at that point in time, all these different students. She was a great guide who actually, shaped how I was looking at things, to right from making presentations to how you're writing your reports. So as you'll realize, like most of my mentors have been female mentors. Yeah, and so then that shaped, so I got interested in that. And then the cell biology course I took in third year, that was Dr. Mehek Sharma in Isa Mohali. So I did a summer project with her because I wanted to learn. She was working on how different, cells are transporting materials inside them. So vesicular trafficking. So I was interested. So I learned a lot of different techniques, got an opportunity to work with amazing PhD students with, and she was also, and she said you should explore. She said, and I had, by that time I realized that I told her, ma'am, in fifth year, I want to do my summer project, master's thesis with you. She said, great, but in the summer, you should try to explore. She said, you work for some months, for 1 month or half a month in the lab, but you should try to look at other labs because fifth year, 1 year, you are going to work on this anyway. So at that time, Isa Mohali had this exchange program with the, I think it still does, I'm not sure, University of St. Andrews in Scotland. So I applied for that, and many of my peers, this is another scholarship, I'll tell you, DARD, this is through for doing research projects in Germany. And not just summer research, they also have for PhD postdoc also. So many of my friends were applying for that. And I think France has many, Charpak and all these. So they're different. So I applied for this program. DARD, I'll be honest, I tried to get a host. So for DARD, basically you write emails and you get a host lab who can host you. Didn't work out. So parallelly, I was applying for this also. And then I got through this University of St. Andrews. So I worked with C. elegans. So by this time, I worked with Drosophila, I worked with C. elegans, I worked with yeast, I worked with bacteria also. Yeast, not so much. So different models. So there, that was a cancer-related project. And that was a great experience because I always wanted to go and explore new places and work with different mentors and all that. So essentially, all those experiences, because that gives you an international experience. Even a national experience is great because you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You're seeing the world around you. You're meeting new people. Maybe each of them is coming from a different experience. So you're coming out. There's this saying that you shouldn't be the kueka mendak. So you shouldn't be a frog stuck in the well. You should try to go out of the world and go out of that. And there are opportunities. I'm not saying that this is only reserved for people who can do it. Like most of my education has been the funding. At that point in time, we used to have Inspired Scholarship from DST for anybody studying in NICER. So most of my education, touchwood, it has been through the government of India funding. That I'm going to acknowledge that. Yeah, so these internships, and finally the fifth year project also got a lot of hands-on experience trying to think of ways I could do the experiments, talking to my peers, etc. Finally, that paved my way to apply for my PhD. So especially if you're interested in practical, hands-on, the experimental biology as it's called, I would definitely recommend try to getting hands-on experience, and not just through internships. If you're in first year of undergrad, this Homi Baba Center, HPCSC Mumbai, they have these I think it's called NIUS. I think so. You might have to check into it. So they have undergrad program, not just for biology, physics, all these hands-on experience. So now with there's an increase for hands-on experience learning. At that time, it was maybe still picking up, but now there's more emphasis on this. So you should try your best to try to get these experiences. And I would also suggest that, let's say you're doing practicals, you have a practical biology course in your undergrad. Maybe you can talk to your PI who's teaching you that course and say, sir or ma'am, I'm interested in this. Is there a way I can work with you? Or just, and many places, I'm going to jump the gun and just say, many places you need a lot of recommendations throughout your journey. So try to talk to your supervisors, maybe, or teachers after the course gets over. Ye nahi that, sorry, I'll be switching to Hindi also in between. It shouldn't be that, oh, the course is over and I'm done with this. No, maybe you have some questions. If you don't want to raise your hand and ask in the class, I was never somebody who was raising the hand and asking in the class, to be honest. And to think of it, I'm running an events coordinator and things, because that the imposter syndrome is something. But after the class got over, I would go and ask questions, or I would just email them. So that curiosity, try to think, why is this happening? Oh, why did I get this result? Why is my experiment not working? And this is something which I wish, like, luckily my parents have really grounded me. And I think people told, but still somebody should have nailed it right into my head, saying, not everything in science works out. It's not like you'll get your perfect line graph. You won't get the perfect results. No, it's about failing, and it's okay to fail, because that's how you learn. And you have that hypothesis failed, no problem, come up with a new hypothesis. I think it's very important, which I really wish somebody had drilled it very much into my head. My parents did tell me, they're not scientists. They're like, they would say this very nice thing, but I would still be like, no, I don't believe what they're saying. They man rakhne ke liye bol rahe. They would say, if all experiments were to work out, we would have cures for so many diseases. We would be preventing diseases even before they happened. They said, aisa to nahi hota na. This doesn't happen. So, I would just say, I wish somebody, so I hope I am that somebody, or this program, researchers, celebrities, is somewhere where Dr. Kushwaha or your other guests are some people who are telling you this, that it is okay. And another thing, Dr. Kushwaha, I will add here, sorry, maybe I'm exceeding my time
No, no,
limit,
you
but I'm
did.
going to say, people are very open to getting emails. People are very open to getting LinkedIn requests or questions on LinkedIn, provided your questions are the right. So right, wrong, I'm not saying in that way. Let's say you're sending somebody a LinkedIn request. Don't just say hi, or just send a random request. If I don't know you, I might still accept. But I'll be like, why is this person connecting to me? So try to leave a note. There is an option to leave a note. Unless that has become a premium facility, I don't know. But try to leave a note. Or many people will have on their websites, they'll have their emails. Or if you're trying to reach out to a PhD student, if you're interested in a PhD project, if you go to a lab website, let's say you write to the supervisor. You can also write to the PhD student. Unless people are very busy or they forget it. Like, I'll be honest, nobody is unhappy with you. Nobody's angry at you. Genuinely, people might have missed your email. Maybe Ganesh Chaturthi is going on. I come back after 3 days, your email has gone in the pile of emails. Maybe I forgot to check it. Maybe I forgot. In that way, you can remind people.
That's also.
Or if you're writing to somebody outside the country, try they get more holidays than we do. We get Dasara and all, we are happy with our 3 4 days. Their whole summer they have chutti. Okay. So try to write in periods where they might be around. Try to write when it is daytime for them. If you write it during your daytime, it is night for them. They're not going to see. Right? You can schedule emails through Gmail. And for anybody, I think I'm jumping many questions here, but anyway, also you can be very specific in your email. What do you just don't? I will legit tell you. This was in India. This happened to my friend who's a professor, assistant professor, in a very reputed institute. One person writes to her, "Dear ma'am, I'm interested in an internship. My name is so and so. These are my grades. Please help me." And I don't think this is the students' fault. We are lacking in training the students. So this training is required. So please don't write emails like this. I am not going to do your work for you. You have to do your background work. But if you don't have that guidance, I will guide you. But you have to write your own email. You have to build your own CV. You have to write your own research statement. Nobody will come and do it for you. That easy way out doesn't exist anyway. And yes, I might be from a privilege, I'm going to acknowledge that, yes, I had people to help me, But there are people to help you also. There are so many people, like researcher celebrities is one way. Shout out to them, that doing these videos. There are other resources where PhD students around the world are building so many resources. So I would say you follow people on LinkedIn. If you follow one person and they, let's say you follow me, I'm giving you an example. I follow somebody. See if you can follow them also, and build your network that way. And that way you will find the right questions to ask, and you'll get the right answer. You ask the right question, you'll get the right answer. If you have an open-ended question, you will get an open-ended answer. That will not help you. So sorry, I jumped many questions, but I think just wanted to put it out there. So that's what I was doing. This was active practice that I was doing. So yeah.
No, this is what we want here at Researcher Celebrities. We always celebrate research. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the major point, as you mentioned, like hypothesis fail all the time. Okay. So this is for all the audience, that be open-minded always, explore different topics, as Dr. Vaishnavi mentioned, that getting internship every summer different, because sometimes what will happen is that this will reveal you your passion, that there is something which you like more than 100 other things, and
Yes.
vice versa. You might hate 99 things and still are stuck to one thing for rest of your life. That is your passion. And until unless you explore all of those with an open-mindedness, like Dr. Vaishnavi also mentioned, that some of her friends were like, okay, we want to build towards one topic, so whatever efforts we are going to do is building blocks for that one. You are the master of your own destiny. That's how you write it. So Vaishnavi, it was very great to like when you mention all of this, like so into small pieces, that I believe that most of the audience, whosoever is listening to this, will be able to connect to it and will get benefited. Now let's go to the second stage, when you were writing emails, or when you thought that okay, now you want to do a PhD. It will be India, outside, anywhere. So, what was the question when you decided that you want to do a PhD?
Okay. So yeah, so I had decided that I wanted to do a PhD, and then by the fifth year, I'd also nailed down the topic. So the question, in the sense, where I want to do, what I want to do, how I want to do, basically
Yes.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I started by asking my seniors that what is the correct process to go around this, because see, cell biology as a topic, see, AI and all, it's picking up. Cell biology has been around for so long. You try searching for people, it is a huge, it's a huge black hole. You just keep going. So for me, the idea was, I'll be honest, I kept a very open mind. I wasn't very fixated. That's the other thing, like you mentioned very nicely. Even the topic, fine, I wanted to study how cell transport in cell happens. But I was open. I wasn't like, no, I will not work with plants. No, I will learn to work with plants. It's okay. I learned to work with yeast. I was clear I didn't want to work with mice or zebrafish or the bigger organisms. So basically the couple of questions I looked at was, um, where, of course, where do you want to do? What do you want to do? First, you nail down what you want to do. Then for the where part, before that, I was actually looking for the program I was interested in. So I started by looking at, let's say, PhD in cell biology, that as a program. Or just randomly, not randomly, somebody had taught me this. They said, you can search your field you're interested in and just Google that. I literally, I will tell you, I said, top researchers doing vesicular trafficking. And top researchers doing vesicular trafficking are really top researchers, okay? And so I got Ivy League, all the different hits. Then I was not very fixated on which place also I want to go. I was very open. I will be honest, don't judge me on this. I didn't want to go to the US. I didn't want to apply, but my parents asked, they said, you keep an open mind. They said, you give your GR, you give your TOEFL, because you never know, right? And you should keep all doors open. If you already close one door, what if the other doors are which are open also close on their own, right? So just for that. So how to go about it? Yes. So I just briefly looked up what these applications ask you. So that's why I was coming to that recommendations point. So each of them, I try to just build all my documents. So GRE I need. So I don't think GRE is needed now anymore. This was graduate research. I forget though. exam, graduate something exam, I forgot. Anyway, GRE. TOEFL is for your English language test. There's also IELTS. If you go outside India, you need these. So I had a checklist. I need to build my application kitty. So I need people. So I told people like faculty in advance that I'll be applying to these places. Also, acha, the other thing is I didn't ask the same people to give me recommendation for all the places. If I apply for 15 places, they'll start crying if I ask them to. So I started building that. And then where all I wanted to apply. So I made a list. I actually had an Excel sheet by country, university. First, I found the person. Then I looked up that university. And also, in many cases, you have to translate the websites because, especially, they're in German or French or all these things. Then I also, the application, I started, and I'll be honest about this. I also saw, while I'm saying I'm not fussy where I was to go to, some things I made sure that it has to be a cosmopolitan environment. If there is no Indian person or no diversity, I wouldn't be able to thrive in that place. Uh, Second, language, English speaking. Of course, I did consider German and all, but programs which are in English, right? Because if you know the language, great, go to a uh, German language PhD. But yeah, and the scholarships also I was looking at. I'll be honest, money you have to look at. And Europe, most of the programs, I think your tuition fees waived off. And what I have heard from friends is, I see when I applied, it was 7 years ago. I don't remember the numbers now. But what I've heard from friends is that their cost of living, depending on the city, is very normal and the pay is good because they treat you as an employee. Canada, US, and all, even to apply to a PhD, the application fee exists. It's not a free application. So you have to think of all that. GRE, TOEFL also cost a lot of money. So if money is a concern, try to build those resources also, I would say. Touchwood, in my case, it wasn't, but it is. I'm just being very practical, right? So you try to build those. So your application, what all do you need? And start way in advance. If you're aiming for, say, September 2025 program, start now. Actually, you could have started in July only. So start now. Because I did get late for my UK applications, I'll be honest. I should have started earlier. I did get late. But I managed to fill up the applications. But in Europe, UK, these places, even though you have these applications, that is something else I found out. That also in my list. Like many of these places, you can send direct emails. US, most places don't accept direct emails. They will, even if you email, they'll say, please apply through our application form. So all that, and all the internships that I had done, I tried to do courses, maybe Coursera. I tried to get some experience which I could have talked to people, just build that. I'm trying to get, it's not a treasure chest, but build your suitcase with things. And in some places they might ask you for an extracurricular, so just start putting your things together, talk to people, those things. And GRE at that point, I think it was only once or twice a year. Now I don't know how it is, so you might want to check all these. See, I'm telling you, I don't know how it is because I don't need to know now. To advise you, I need to know, but you are the people who are applying, so you need to know, right? So check all these. And some people are very fixated, Dr. Kushwa, like, I want to go to Canada, I want to go here. Good thing. If you're fixated, do research about the country. Look at the living conditions, talk to somebody who's living there currently. It's been a year since I left, for example. So all that research you need to do while your application. Yes, it might seem like a lot, but you can't be like, I have applied. And if suppose that person selects you and then you're like, oh, it goes to -40 here, I can't go. That will leave a very bad taste. I mean, because they've spent time, they're actually thought that you as a student will join the lab. So they're investing. So I'm just saying, just keep everything in your mind. Can you survive in that place? See, PhD is a good thing, but it's not your life. Let me put it out there.
Yes.
There are so many other things. You have your family to come back to remember that. You have your friends and you have your, it's not the only thing. It's not the end of the world. And like I said initially, I thought PhD, postdoc, that is the only way to go. I think in the further future questions, this will come up. Eventually, I realized that's not the world. That's not the end of it. No, even my parents, they say now, they're like, beta, it's just a part of your life. It's good. It's helping you. But I'm sure now I have learned over time, even after masters, there are so many opportunities. I'm not dissuading you, You should, if you're interested, you should go into it. But have a checklist. Yes, that's the word I was looking at. Have a checklist. Put all your things together in a folder nicely. Have scanned copies. If you need your head of department to sign and stamp and seal, please do it in advance. What if that person is gone for a holiday then? Or you might need specific documents in some cases. So I still remember Imperial College London. They wanted an undertaking. ISER at that time was still a new institute. It wasn't even 10 years old. They wanted an undertaking saying that this is a recognized institute. Will you believe it? ISER Mohali now. And that was one of the reasons Imperial didn't give me a scholarship, because it was not on the list of recognized institutions. So UK tends to do that. UK, a lot of institutes, they have a list of recognized universities. So all your state universities are on it because they're so old. IITs are on it. ISA wasn't on it at that point in time. This is 2016. So I'm just saying, so have all those things. And luckily, my director, he was very nice. He gave me a very like a nice email he wrote so that I could send to them. He said, I'll write to them personally. Professor Satyamurthy, amazing person. Anyway, so I'm just saying you have all these things in mind because there's a lot that goes into it. And that Excel sheet will be helpful, right? Because
Yes.
Germany, there's a special way of applying. France, there's a special way of applying. So I didn't start with the country. I started with the person I wanted to work with.
Mm.
That's where I started. And Canada, I have to be very honest. Now I can be honest because I'm out of it. It was not on my list. My parents, actually, my parents, even though they're not scientists, they're very aware of the things. They said, why aren't you considering Canada? And my father, that's when I found out my father had applied to UBC back when he was applying for engineering. And he said it was a great college. He didn't have the resources at that time
Mm-hmm.
to go because you don't have many scholarships and stuff. He had got through 4 or 5 universities in US. That's when I found out he had the application letters. So he said, you apply here, you apply here. These are great places. So, those stories start coming up.
True.
So that's when I think my parents really encouraged me. My faculty, they gave me ideas. They said, you apply here. Why don't you do this? And then the person, one of my mentors, Professor N.G. Prasad Aisamali, he was not from the same field. He's an evolutionary biologist. I was interested in cell biology. He said, Vaishnavi, and he actually made it a point to suggest to his students where all they could apply for. So
Yes.
you will find people like that who will give you ideas. They will ask you to aim high. They're like, you might doubt yourself saying, Harvard में मेरा कैसे होगा?
Mm-hmm.
करो apply, उसमें क्या है?
True.
You'll have people who will say that.
True.
For me, it's my parents. They're my biggest cheerleaders. They're like, why wouldn't Harvard want to hire you? I'm like, you guys have amazing confidence more than I do in myself. So you need those cheerleaders. So try to build that. And fine, for some people it's family, some people it's friends, some people it's teachers, or some people it's just strangers like you, like me, and maybe Dr. Kushwa, who don't even know you, who can celebrate your success,
Yes,
right? So
absolutely. No,
yeah, so I think
here I always see that this is the role of a mentor, be it your friends, your family, your
yes,
teachers, or anyone in there, because
yeah,
mentor are responsible. They can see something in you which you are just overlooking. You think this
yes,
is normal, everyone has this, but that's not true.
absolutely,
Just because you
absolutely,
have it doesn't mean everyone have it. And
yes,
mentors nourish you in the way, as you mentioned. So
yes,
for all the audience, I'll say that if you are considering to pursue a PhD outside, building the networks, as Vaishnavi said, is very important. So even if you are doing a master's or a small project in some laboratory, keep this contact forever of your life. That is good. This is helping you for developing your personal skills. You know,
absolutely,
also, like, these are the people who are going to provide you the recommendation letters at your early stage. Obviously, once you're done with your PhD, then you might not need their recommendation letters, but having them as your uh, contact is very important because you never know. Research, our community is not that big. It is small. You will face the people again and again and again and again.
I might just want to add here, like couple, just when you said
Yes.
the skills part, it just
Mhm.
struck me. Two things here. Skills meaning hone your research skills. If you're interested to try to gain as many techniques and uh, that knowledge, because in some places that technique, see, some different PhD programs are catered in a different way. That's another thing. Like 5 years in some place, 3 years in some place. So where you're going for 3 years, maybe you won't have a lot of time to learn that technique. Maybe they're looking for somebody who has that technique.
Yes.
Where you're going for 5 years, maybe they can let you, first 2 years, they'll let you learn and then they'll, so those are other things. And please don't think of things like, I I get requests. They said, ma'am, I want to finish PhD in 3 years, recommend. I'm sorry, it's a journey. You have to be prepared for that long thing. Three can become five. And it is okay. You shouldn't be sitting depressed thinking, why is it? If you okay, if you really like it, then stay in it. If you actually don't like it and you won't regret your decision, then leave.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have anything stuck and feel like you're in a cage. And try to get other skills also, like you're doing presentations, that is a skill. Networking, communication, if there are opportunities to organize something, if there are opportunities to go out for a conference, yes, that's the other thing. Like so many conferences and those kind of things, they happen at NCBS itself. We have so many conferences, meetings happening which are open to people who can apply for it, and try to apply for those. And these are the places where you will meet and extend, because when somebody goes for a conference, when they're having lunch or dinner, that's when they're chilled out, they're actually out of their zone. If you go and ask them in a lab, they might behave differently with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask in an email, they might behave differently with you. They might be like, who is this who's emailing me, I will not reply. No, it's human tendency.
Yeah.
Because right now scams are increasing. I might just think it's a scam email, or it might actually land up in spam, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in conferences, you meet in person. Maybe you can just say, sir, can I visit your lab? Can I talk to your group? What do you work on? Or if there are posters, try to engage, try to present. These are ways you can build your network. And
Yes.
I think at that, and like Dr. Kushwa very lightly mentioned, research community is very small. I will just tell you, I came back here. One of my seniors from ICER is a new faculty member here. They just joined. One of my seniors from ICER is a postdoc here. One of them is a PhD student. So, it's a small, and you meet and then I met somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. It's just, and I'm like, I know all these people because I know that community. So if you have destroyed that thing
Yes.
somewhere, when you meet that person, you'll be like, oh, how do I talk to this person now?
True.
Never should happen. If professionally you don't see eye to eye, it's still okay. Personally, you should never destroy it. Because
True.
personally, nobody has anything against anybody.
Yes.
Professionally, if you still damage a little bit, you can still build it. Personally, you shouldn't. And if somebody gives you a recommendation, if somebody is advising you for something, if you did get a PhD position somewhere, please come back and tell them.
Yes.
Don't
Acknowledge them. That is very
just
important.
tell them that thank you, I got it. Fine, if there is some hesitation, let them know even through email. Okay, but if you can't meet them in person, but you should tell them,
Absolutely.
because nahi to kai baar it happens. I mean, I have seen cases where, uh, you know, you don't realize it, but by mistake you've done. But if you've done that mistake, also it's okay. It's not like, oh my god, the ship has sailed. You can always come back. You can say, I'm so sorry. I was meaning to tell you. It just slipped out of my mind somehow. Or I wanted to tell you in person, meet and talk to you nicely. This is a mistake I personally also made. I'm going to admit it. I thought I'll meet that person, tell them nicely and all. It didn't happen, and I was just like, I should just send an email. They found out through somebody else.
Mhm.
Luckily, no bridges are burned because we cleared it out. But I'm just saying that should not happen, because it happens to me also. I'm mentoring students. Hardly two or three people come back to me. One person was very nice. They came in person. They sat down and they tell me, I'm not saying you're bad, and I know a lot of things happen when you're applying for too many things, visa, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing. I understand, but even after 3 years, if you're reaching out, it's still okay. Just tell them. They should feel that they did something. See, it's a return, two-way street.
Yes.
You got a PhD through their help, good. They should feel they contributed to the community. Otherwise, they'll always keep thinking, अच्छा मेरे से फायदा हुआ इसका, did I help this person? How
Absolutely.
should I
That's
improve my
very
mentorship strategy, right? So just wanted to add those things.
no. So
Yeah.
speaking of mentorship, so now Vaishnavi, our last question for today will be like after the PhD,
Ah,
joining as manager for academic collaboration and events.
yes.
As you mentioned that before, when you were 17, you thought that you will do PhD, and then with the process, you thought, okay, PhD postdoc, that's how it goes. But then from going there to here, if you can tell a little bit about this transition and how our the students who are in their ultimate about to submit the thesis or have submitted their thesis are defending and don't want to pursue the or follow this postdoc and then academic other that chain, so if you can guide
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so this, um, it might differ in how it is in India and how it is outside the country. So I'll tell about Canada, not biased about anything, just telling you my personal experience. So when I was in Canada, a lot of emphasis is the people there, there's a lot of emphasis on what they do outside the lab. Like if Saturday, Sunday is holiday, nobody's even looking at the lab. Even my PI was like that. So they'll put a lot of emphasis on extracurriculars. They'll go rowing. And so I was in Vancouver where you have mountains and you have the sea, ocean, Pacific. So there are people doing rowing, there are people climbing mountains, there are people doing all sorts of things. And volunteering is a big part of how those countries operate. So you get, see, as an international student, I couldn't work there. I didn't need to also. Touch wood for that anyway. But I wanted to gain skills. And actually in ISER also, I used to be involved with a lot of science communication, science outreach, talking to students, exploring science. So I knew I liked this. I knew I liked talking to people. Okay. I still do. Never knew talking could land me a job, and I get to do that in my daily job anyway. Um, yeah, so sorry. So I enjoyed doing this. So, UBC, it was very nice. Lot of opportunities. We would get emails in the community. And I used to live in an international graduate college. So even there was opportunity to do events and organize. So I used to wanted to do something new. After the lab, I'm like, weekend, I want to unwind. That is very important. So I started doing a lot of science communication, science outreach, science education during my PhD. And with my PhD, I had opportunity to do that. In India, I'll personally, people might differ on this. I have seen people seem to lack the time to do that. They can't do it regularly. If it's a one-off thing, they can do it. If it's a regular thing, I was doing this regularly. And there are a lot more people who are doing a lot more things than what even I am doing. So I realized I like doing this. So I thought, okay, even if I do a postdoc, I want to go and teach. I don't want to open my lab. That I told you, I was clear. Finally, around my third, fourth year, COVID happened, this, that. I was like, yeah, I don't want to do a postdoc. I want to be associated with research. Don't want to do research. And I actually joined a lot of a society called Society for Canadian Women in Science and Technology. So you can look around, there are many. In India also, there are clubs and all. I have not studied in the Indian system. I don't know much. But there are outreach cells in most, like NCBS, I can tell you there's outreach cell. There is different offices. You have communications, meetings, you have grants office. So your opportunities to intern and also learn through these processes. So maybe, in your research, you are working on a research grant. Maybe you like doing that. Grant writing is a profession if you enjoy it. Maybe you work with an NGO, you're doing some science outreach, maybe you're participating in science communication, maybe you like to make nice videos, science videos, and put it on Twitter or whatever. That is an experience. So I started liking doing these things. So I realized, okay, science education I like. So let me try working with NGOs or organizations which do these things, build modules for school students. And even in that, I personally, even though I say keep it open, you need to have a small niche. So science outreach. I will do outreach. I will work with charities, but science, that was my thing because I want to use my education. Elementary school. I chose, I think, grade 1 to grade 8. I chose that in my head. Um, so through the course of it, I just started gaining self. So these societies, communities, there were a lot of opportunities to get mentored, opportunities to give mentorship. Because in Canada, many of the the communities, a lot of immigrant women, highly talented, technically qualified, skilled women. These are the women who started these things. So I just, being a part of that society gave me a lot of opportunities. I wrote grants. I organized science education, big Canada wide. We had almost 2,000 people from all over Canada, students joining. So that gave me a lot of confidence. So, and once you establish yourself, you start as that's how I started. Start as a volunteer. Start in a place where they don't require any experience. Then you build the experience. Then at one point, I was acting director in that youth engagement department. So you get recognized. So one person knows, they'll be like, so even Professor Kushwa, it's through a mutual contact. So now maybe I will connect him to somebody else. So you build. And at one point you start here. You start as a volunteer, basic. You start as a nobody. And you should be okay starting as a nobody because this is not your field. It's not my country. Nobody knows me. Actually, when I came back to India, even though I say I know people, I did start with zero because I didn't have the Indian experience. I couldn't apply to many places because I didn't have an Indian experience. NCBS luckily didn't require me to have an Indian experience. They just wanted me to have event managing. They wanted me to have a PhD in biology. Yeah, that was the criteria I'm telling you. And they wanted me to have event organizing, some grant writing, report writing. Oh yeah, and the other thing is, so I was doing a lot of public outreach in science, hands-on experiments, videos, these things. But as I started reaching the fourth, fifth year, towards the end, fifth, sixth, I realized that maybe I should be writing science articles, maybe writing research in a way that diverse audience, because I realized there is more positions for that
Yes.
rather than the public outreach.
Mm-hmm.
So how I found out is I was actively looking, I'm going to be honest, on LinkedIn. And I was also talking to people in India, science communicators in India, who started saying that, Vaishnavi, this is because, see, I knew I had to come back. Yes, that's the other thing. Sorry, I'm putting too many points here. So, okay, let's zero down. By fifth year, I knew I wanted to come back, not just because my government of I got a scholarship from SERB India, which is now this ANRF.
Mm-hmm.
It said I had to come back unless I did a postdoc. I didn't want to do a postdoc. Second point. So I had to come back. And I didn't want to do postdoc here. I don't want to. And without doing a postdoc, getting a faculty position in India is actually impossible. Being actively in without being actively involved in research, getting a faculty position, even a teaching position, even in a private institution, not possible. Okay. So fine, that was out of the window. I got a reality check. So science communication, science writing, those kind of thing, education, or even administrative roles I was interested. What I do now is an interface of all combined. So luckily it all worked out that way. So I was clear with these things. So actively on LinkedIn, those kind of things. And also I wanted to come back to India. So I started finding people on LinkedIn who are active science communicators and all that in the Indian context, reaching out to them actively, talking to them, who told me, oh, maybe you can do this, you try this, you try this. And then again, coming back to Professor Rashna Bandari, I said, ma'am, I'm interested in this. What should I do? I know in India there's not. She said, Vaishnavi, India Bioscience is there. She was the person who said, Vaishnavi, why don't you write to directors of research institutes? I didn't even know this was a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. I said, Acha, ma'am, can you do? She's like, why not? And to India Bioscience, she said, you tell them I recommended you. So see the relation. I did
Yeah.
an internship in her lab in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
10 years on, she still is ready to recommend me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
So that relation you need to maintain is what I'm saying. Even though I've not spoken to her properly, just emails once in a way. But still, people are ready to do it. So that speaks volumes about her as a person. Anyway, of course, giving her an upper hand in that. But yeah, so she told me. So I started writing to directors of institutes. I said, this is this. And parallelly, I was also actively looking for institutes which are offering these kind of jobs. So in NCBS, I found this manager. It was called Manager Academic Meetings and Events. I read the description. It said you have to actively organize scientific conferences, scientific events, delegation visits. If there are international visitors coming, tell them about NCBS and maybe have collaborations and those kind of things. I was like, this is perfect. Let me just apply for this. And NCBS, I wanted to do an internship in NCBS for a long time from the time I was an undergrad. Okay. And also our family is originally from Bangalore. So I'm a Kannadiga. So everything, it just coalesced. It just came together. When I applied, there was an interview. So Professor Shashidhara, who's the director, Professor Ruma Ramakrishnan, they interviewed me. At that point, I was like, I told Mama, I don't know. Maybe I was over enthusiastic. Unko shayad acha nahi laga hoga. My mother said, just leave it. You had to apply. You applied. You gave the interview. And they were supposed to take 2 interviews. After a week after the interview, I get an offer letter. So it just works out. And I'm telling you all the skills also. Please make a note of the skills you gain also. And as a PhD student, you might think, acha, inhone to extra kiya. You are trained for those things. You're managing your project. You're managing your time. You're doing grants. And in India, so I think people are also working more hard in the lab management space also. We had a lab manager there. You're doing your own lab management. You're preparing your own reagents. You're maintaining records. So you're doing all this and you're attending conferences. You're giving talks. You're presenting. So communication skill, all that you have already. And there are certificate programs if you really want to add a label to it. Mm-hmm. Because you can't just be like, I gave one presentation. So usme kya ukhad liya tumne? Sorry, excuse my language. Mm-hmm. But right? So if you want to do something, you hone your skills. Maybe you do an internship, you work with somebody, work in some communication office, like we get some interns and all that. Try to get so that they can write you a letter saying this is the experience. For 6 months, this person did this. Yeah. Or certificate programs like project management, there is certificate programs for that. If you want to do an MBA, do it also. If you feel that management experience, I didn't need to do an MBA. People ask me, did you need an MBA? I didn't need an MBA for my project. For my job. If I want to do it in the future, I might. But I didn't need it at this point. Mm-hmm. Having a PhD in biology research, having this experience was enough for me. And you learn with the job. So many things have gotten added. And at one point, I used to think, oh, I'm doing conferences, I'm doing this. Is there an opportunity for me to write? So now through NCBS, I'm actually able to write, I'm able to interview scientists, I'm writing research articles also. Like, simplifying them
Yeah.
for a diverse audience. Not simplifying is not the right word, writing it for the right audience,
Yeah.
for the diverse audience. Also get to do science outreach. We had an open day today. I was interacting with a member of the public and talking about a program. So basically, I would say, I'm not to promote or to, but NCBS itself is a very open community.
It is.
You can do a lot of things. Touch wood, it I am lucky, I'm going to say it. Scientists, you might think, oh, ye lucky kya baat kare, but hota hai wo hota hai, wo kahin se to that happens, okay? And it's a very open community, and I will be very honest that I lucked out being here, because after having done a PhD in Canada, I wouldn't have fit anywhere else here. And that is speaking volumes about NCBS, the culture, but also saying that other universities, other places, really, I think they need to build in that way, so that people feel that, students feel that we are supported. And in NCBS, actively we have these lectures, we call it high lectures, how I got here, people after a PhD, who are doing different things. Like Arvind Gupta, who's building these science toys, or there is people who are working in science policy. So we have different talks every month. I think we have one. So I think all these things really help. So you should watch out. Like, the high talks are actually open to the public. So if somebody is in Bangalore, if you are able to come, please do come. I would say, I don't think we are recording it as of now, because it's a very personal. Like, here also we are recording. I'm giving a personal story. I'm okay with it. Some people are not okay with some things,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure I didn't say anything controversial at all. I'm accepting things for this. I call spade a spade, club a club. So yeah, and also the funding. I think we never spoke about this, but there are a lot of funding opportunities even in India. And I'm just going to circle back to this, like your CSI. I did give net, by the way. I did. I wanted to give it. I gave it, and I was like, give it, and I was like, I wasn't like, "Arey, main aise hi likh dungi." If I'm given an exam, I'm going to study for it. I
Yeah.
got rank 7 in life sciences, by the way. So I had net, I had JRF, and now see, if you want to be a faculty, you need that net. Who knew? When I gave, I didn't know. So if I actually want to apply, I'm safe that way. Of course, if you have a PhD, you don't need it. But if a university asks for it, I have it. So that's why the checklist I told you,
Yes.
try. GATE also, you can give. DBT has its own exam. I think ICMR has. You might check.
Yeah.
But check where. Yes, and the biggest thing is, please check your eligibility for things. If you're reaching out to somebody for help, don't tell them, I want to apply for this help. Are you eligible?
Yes.
Do you meet the criteria? That research you have to do. You know yourself best. And anyway, coming back to these careers, so there are alternate careers, like Ashoka University has a lot in India. If you talk about, other places are picking up, but NCBS, I have to say, was a pioneer in this.
Okay.
ISC has options.
Yeah.
All the many CSIR labs also, especially the ones in Hyderabad. So Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, Delhi, these places are doing very well in this. Also, there are many programs, like specific program, like public health program, where you can join as program managers. And I had a basic biology degree. I'm not, so to say, people might think you need translation. I didn't do any translation research, but still I had, at one point I had self-doubt. I was like, mujhe kahin milega bhi ki nahi? I will be very honest. And my parents said ki nahi milega, tum wapas jao. Tumhare paas abhi bhi opportunity. You go out, you work there, it's fine. Do a postdoc, do out. But if it has to work, it will work out this way, and you will get an opportunity to do. And keep your mind open. Try to gain. The world is an ocean. There might be opportunities you didn't even know about. I didn't know such a job exists. There are people who tell me, we don't know. Even outside the country, people don't know these kind of jobs exist, because once in a way there'll be, or maybe there are faculty who will take on these admin roles, right? But people might not know these kind of roles exist. And please be confident in all you do. Another thing I would say, maintain a document with what all you did. Let's say volunteer. Today, open day, I was there for 8 hours. I will write down open day, volunteering, 8 hours. Write down everything you do. Write down descriptions, because you never know when you need it.
Yes.
Like for this, if I have all points in one place, if somebody asks me if I have to apply for a mentorship role, they'll ask me, please emphasize, and CV, resume, I think I'm getting confused now, but you have to resume. Yes. Resume is what you tailor for the job, if I'm not wrong. If I'm wrong, please somebody tell me. You can Google it yourself. So if I'm applying for a mentorship role, I will put down whatever mentorship roles I did in the first place after my marks and all that, blah, blah, my research and this. If I'm applying for a postdoc, let's say I'll put down my research publication, conference attended, those things. Um, if I'm applying for a science communication job, I'll put all my science education. So if you have a list, you can just swap this. If you have paragraphs, just put it here, there, like match the following. On LinkedIn is a great resource. Try not to get into the politics of it. Just follow people, see what they're doing, look at how people are tailoring. I also learned a lot from how people are putting their resumes on LinkedIn. So you watch out. And the people who teach you to do these things, but you can just observe also. And you can download your built resume from LinkedIn. I use that for a lot of places. You don't have to sit on Word and make a table. And of course, now with Canva, another great resource, Word, they have templates. So you use those things. You can use those things, right? And to make it a perfect looking thing, because if I'm just giving you my personal example, that is human tendency. If you get 10 applications, even the slightest thing can throw a person off. If you just want one thing, let's say in an email, you say, dear Mrs. Let's say you say, dear Mrs. Vaishnavi. I'm not Mrs. I will get offended. Why didn't you call me doctor? Why didn't you put in that little effort to go into my profile and see that I put comma PhD? You didn't take in that much effort. If you don't give attention to details, PhD, especially in life sciences, attention to detail is required. You look at the big picture, but you need this. It automatically throws me off. I'm like, इतनी मेहनत तुम नहीं कर सकते, तुम क्या कर लोगे? It might be an honest mistake, but every time if you do that, and another, not to pinpoint, but in your CV, you know your CV the best. Please don't make spelling mistakes. There are people who are literally grammar Nazis.
Yes.
That's the word. I know you don't want to use the word Nazis, but there are people who are literally grammar Nazis. I am one. Spelling here, there. And scientists have a bit of an OCD, okay? They want things in a structured way.
Yes.
Idhar udhar kuch bhi galti se ho gaya. By mistake, if something is red, my supervisor used to hate underlines. She's like, Vaishnavi, remove the underlines. I hate it. So some small thing can tick someone off. Now you might think, how can they be so fussy? I'm such a good student. You may be a good student, but you never know. Everybody has their own idiosyncrasies, right? So just if you tailor it, there's nothing perfect. I'm not saying, but small things. If you misspell your institute name, come on, that will definitely throw me off, right? Or if you're addressing me the wrong way, me meaning anybody, and I am nobody in the scale of events. There are people who are directors of institutes. उनको कैसे लगेगा? जो भी who have been in this field for 30 years. I am actually a nobody if you think of it. But if I can find these errors I'm telling you from my training, because I have seen people being so perfect. They're like, this alignment is wrong. Page number is missed. Small things like that. The table is, why is this so thick? Why is this bold? In the same sentence, if you're using 3 fonts.
Yeah, so true.
But we also understand, we should see, I'm just saying this, but people also need to understand that maybe we need to be inclusive. People may not be trained this way. People may have certain disabilities, right? Yeah. Which is okay. So I also tell other people, not just people who are applying, people who are evaluating these things, please have an open mind.
Yes.
Try to नजरअंदाज करने की कोशिश कीजिए जितना कर सकते हैं. I am telling, you might think I'm telling both things. No, but I will look at your content. If you've done great research, I will write back to you and say, can you please rectify these things? These parts of your CV are awesome. Because that's what a teacher should do.
Absolutely. Very important.
Right? And people might not have time for this. So see, I am telling you, I might have time to look at your CVs. But people, a director of institute won't be able to. So try your best, use Grammarly, use Word, spell check. Ask somebody to check. आप छोटे नहीं हो जाएंगे, कोई check करेगा. Ask your mentor to check it. So many students are reaching out to me. They ask me, I'm pretty sure Dr. Kushwaha, other people, they all get. Ask somebody to check it's okay. Ask somebody to read your statement of interest. Do it. You won't become small. People won't judge you thinking, oh, isko itna bhi nahi aata. If they're thinking that, there's a fault with that person. Koi itna bada nahi hota hai. Okay. So just ask somebody to check those things. And I'm pretty sure you'll all do an awesome job. And if you do want to be connected, you can always reach out to LinkedIn. But what I gave you the advice, identify yourself. Yes. If it's a random 4th or 3rd party connection, I might be wary of adding you. I'm just going to put it out there. So
Absolutely.
I hope I answered all questions. I just
Yes, exactly.
did justice to it.
And
So thank you.
no, this is great. And we always say that now, well, like Dr. Vaishnavi, what she said that you should always check your toolkit. What all is required, checklist should be always ready. And then at the end, we'll say that do whatever makes you happy. Research happens to be one of them. Please follow that. You can write to Dr. Vaishnavi for mentorship if you want Researcher Celebrity Empowering Science Foundation to put you in touch with our researcher celebrities. We are there to help you. From you, what we all want is the passion. We are here to support you to fly. With this, we'll say thank you to Dr. Vaishnavi for such an interesting and, I will say personally that this is so much of in-depth that people can actually, just after listening to this conversation, can get selected for various positions, be it PhD or a job also. Thank you
I
so much.
really hope it's that straightforward. I'm
It
just
was.
gonna add that here. Another very small thing. I know we are exceeding, just small thing. People have this notion. I'm gonna put it out. It keeps coming up. People have this notion that the pay here, the funding in India, and all the research is good here also. There are great researchers in India, like top of their field. There are people. I will not say funding. See, according to the scale of the country, I think, well, it can be more, maybe in my personal opinion, but even there, what we were being paid was very basic amount. I'm going to be very honest. And those countries have a very high cost of living also. I'm
Mhm.
just going to put it out there.
So
So
true.
never think ki bahar ka, if you compare, you do that into 60, into 75, into 100, like if you're earning in pounds, then you will feel, oh wow, I'm getting so many. Yeah, because you're converting. No, if you lifelong stay in Zurich or London, tell me after 10 years how you're faring.
Mhm.
Unless you're in that high paying job. So just don't have this notion. The only thing is, there you will get paid on time. Here I've read so many stories where people don't get paid on time, which I think is unfortunate. But I really hope that the government and other senior people look into it. It's not my position to do anything in this regard. But never have that notion that वहां बहुत ज्यादा मिलता है. ठीक है, some places शायद ज्यादा मिलता है, like places like Switzerland, you get, because cost of living is so high there.
Mhm.
Switzerland is crazy, Singapore is crazy. And also keep your eye open. Never, good thing. I also went to Canada. Somebody might say, "आप तो west ही गए." But I did look into programs in Japan and Singapore also. I'm just going to be honest. So just evaluate. And now how the world is going, see, your safety is important. At the end of it, you have to come back home. Please remember, you have parents at home who are worried about you. Okay, don't go and spoil your, if you can't handle yourself, don't go and spoil your life, right?
Yes.
Look at things whether you can manage. Like some countries, half of the year is daylight, half of the year is andhera, half of the year is ujala. Okay, can you live in that? Can you live in -50? Can you drive in snow?
Mhm.
Can you do all these things? If you can, please go. If you're Bear Grylls or Daredevil, do it. Or if you're built for that. I knew I was not built for it. So it's very important, like Dr. Pushwas, you know what you want. Nobody can tell you. Shant man se soche, people can guide you. I knew what I wanted. I knew I could not survive in any of those places. I did not go there. Very simple. I just knew, I think, and you might say, how do you know what you want? Even now, I don't know what I want. But you gain over time, you learn, you
Yeah.
gain over time. So, those kind of things, please be very, and all basic things like housing, money, please sort it out. Don't go there and be like, I'll find an Airbnb. Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Your parents will be dead worried for you. How will you manage there? No, no, somebody, you don't be with these rosy pictures. Somebody will come and help you and all. Don't get influenced unnecessarily. Talk to people who have been through it.
Yes.
Because I've seen, I'm gonna also, not judging anybody, just want to thwart I think this is a place I can use as a
Yeah.
platform to thwart misinformation. Please don't watch those YouTube influencer videos saying scholarship mil jayega, ye ho jayega, go to a consultant. And I've heard there are these agents which help you find PhD. Who is this? They will land, you land up in that country without a proper visa, passport. God knows what will happen. You'll be detained. Do you
Mhm.
want that to happen to you? And this happens in certain parts of the country. I won't be naming that. Or in certain, if you belong to certain strata of the society. I
Mhm.
might say that I was lucky enough. I had connections which could, who could help me. But now you have people who are making
Yes.
videos. There are people bringing repositories. You don't need to feel, अच्छा ये इनको तो सब कुछ पता था, इनके तो पुश्तों से पता था. नहीं, तो अब आपको हम हेल्प कर रहे हैं. हम कोशिश करें कि हमें जो आता है, हमें जो मिला है, हम आपके साथ शेयर कर सकें. right? So try to follow these kind of things. Try to connect with people who will go out of their way to help you, because we are not getting any advantage from doing this. Neither Dr. Kushwa, neither Empowering Science Foundation. They want to empower you. See the name. We personally, we are not getting. I had a whole 8 day. My voice is sitting because I went for an open day talking to children. Still, I'm here talking to all of you. I'm pretty sure Dr. Kushwa had. So we are not getting anything out of this. So just value us. We'll value you. We'll help you. And please talk to, hear it right from the horse's mouth is what I want to say.
Yes.
Don't go to those who are like, will paint a rosy picture. आप Canada जाएंगे, आपको citizenship मिल जाएगा, आप ये करेंगे. Please don't go with that motivation. Please don't go to Canada or other places with the motivation you're going for a citizenship. I'm not judging you. Please don't go with that. Go there to learn. PhD आप कर रहे हैं to learn. Have that motivation. Don't go कि मुझे foreign घूमना है, Schengen visa मिलेगा, जर्मनी जाऊंगा, मैं पूरा यूरोप घूमूंगा. तो घूमो ना फिर. Be a travel blogger. Why are you doing a PhD?
Absolutely.
PhD comes with a lot of commitment, a lot of investment. If you're ready for it, you have to sit for 10 hours. I had friends who would sit 24 hours in a lab who were working with bigger living organisms. I used to work with yeast, put them, throw them in the incubator, throw them in the -80, they're happy. 10 days afterwards, also they're happy. La 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 la, they're doing. But, or you have to process them anyway. I'm just putting it. People working with mice, people working with flies, they used to take care of them like babies.
Yes.
24 hours. It's a lot of commitment. Even if you're doing theoretical biology, it's a lot of commitment. If your computer dies midway, what will you do? You're running that simulation. Gaya aapka mehnat. I'm talking about biology. I know the field. Physics, chemistry, I don't know that much, but I know equally how hard it is to build a simulation, how hard it is to build a crystal, how hard it is to prove a theorem, how hard it is to build a machine.
Nice.
So these are how hard it is to build crops, resilient crops, agriculture, all sorts of science में और क्या बच गया? Design, how hard it is to build a design, to come up with a sustainable architecture, right? Exactly. How hard it is to do these things. So I just want to put it out there, right? And keep your mind open. Try to do interdisciplinary research. Yes. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi. And for all the audience, stay tuned for another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Thank you, Vaishnavi.
Thank you.